Cool. We are recording now. Thank you everyone for coming to our Voting 101 training. It's good to have everyone here. I think when we were scheduling this, I don't think we realized that we were scheduling it over the debate. So that might have been an issue for some folks, but regardless, yeah, we're looks like we're gonna have a small people today, so that just means that we can have more of like a yeah, have more time to answer personal questions and help you figure out a plan to vote. And just maybe let's do a round of introductions with everyone who's here, if that's all right. And I can go first and pass it on. Maybe the question is, let's just say our name, what pronouns that we use. So, like for instance, I go by he and him. Maybe where you're calling in from, and what you're hoping to learn today. So, my name is Kengo. I am the Youth Civic Engagement Coordinator at the Alaska Center Education Fund. And so I spend a lot of time talking to young people, and gathering young people, and supporting people to get involved in our communities and political process. Like I said, I go by he, him, and I'm calling in from Dena'ina Lands in Anchorage today. And one thing I'm hoping to learn, I see that we have a poll worker here from Girdwood, our new friend Mitchell, and I'm interested to hear what you all are learning, and maybe there's something I can learn from you too. Cool. Maybe I'll pass it on to Teresa. You want to say hello?
Thank you, Kingo. Hi, my name is Teresa Lyons, and I work with YWCA Alaska. And our mission is to eliminate racism, empower women and girls to promote peace, justice, freedom, and dignity for all people. I am calling in from Dena'ina Land as well, here in Anchorage, Alaska. Like one of our other attendees today, I'm actually going to be volunteering at a precinct in November. So I'm here to try to stay abreast of anything that might be changing and new in the process, with the pandemic being a very big part of the experience, and understanding what things are happening, that we can make sure our community is informed and educated about how they can engage in our democracy through voting. Oh, and my pronouns are she and her. And I'll pass it to Mitchell.
Thank you, Teresa. Mitchell Roth, and I'm calling in from Girdwood, which I guess is Dena'ina Land as well, as is most of this part of the state. My pronouns would be he, old. And as I mentioned to Kengo earlier, I worked in the primary election, and I'm signed up to work in the November election as well here in the Girdwood precinct. So I'm interested in finding out any information that I can use to pass along to other people as far as signing up for voting. And prior to the primary election, we did have several hours of video training that we reviewed that was specifically about the primary procedures as well as voting machines. But I haven't received any word yet about the November training. So as far as any up-to-date last-minute things, I don't have too much to add that's specifically about the November election, but most of it applies to the primary as well. So as far as the general principles of who can vote and how to register and so forth. So I'm just interested to know what the Alaska Center is doing And when I'm not involved in promoting voting, climate change and renewable energy is my main thing.
Thanks, Mitchell. Alexander, do you want to say hello?
Hey, I'm Alexander. I use they, them pronouns. I'm here in China, Dene land, also known as Fairbanks. And yeah, I understood that I had signed up to receive mail-in ballots for the rest of the voting opportunities of the year, but I haven't gotten the upcoming like local one, so I'm hoping to learn more about that, and also to how I can get out the vote a bit more closer to Jacqueline.
Hey guys, I'm cooking right now. I'm Alex and I'm calling in from Danaina Lands. And right now, I was recently onboarded as the Alaska Just Transition Collective Fellow. So I've been doing that, but I'm really excited to just learn how to really learn how to inform young voters, particularly like young people in my community, and point them towards like the correct or like the right direction and to resources that they could use. So yeah, happy to be here.
Thanks, Alex. Jacqueline, are you there? And you want to say hello?
Hi, sorry, I just got home from work too, and I don't remember how I got the information on how to join the meeting, but I do a lot of voter volunteering here in my community of Port Hayden, and I go to AFN every year, and we've always campaigned to rock the Native vote, and we have young people here that need to go to vote, and just here for the resources you guys might be able to lend out to us in rural Alaska.
Great, Jacqueline. Well, welcome everyone. Really great to meet everybody a little bit better. My name is Evan Anderson. I work at the Alaska Center Education Fund, work really closely with Kengo and our team to get out the vote. And we're most interested in supporting folks statewide, particularly folks who have been left out of the process or disenfranchised for years. So a lot of our work focuses around the rising Alaskan majority, which includes Black and Indigenous communities and communities of color around the state, as well as LGBTQ communities, and folks of varying abilities as well. And really, really grateful to get the chance to chat with some of you about voting this year. And yeah, looking forward. It sounds like there's a lot of doers in this group, a lot of folks who are actively doing get out the vote work. And so I'm looking forward to hearing your ideas as we're able to kind of move through, hear from Kengo. And so thanks again for being here.
Yeah, good to hear from everyone. Oh,
I guess I might just ask really quickly if folks are consenting to go, I don't know if we asked officially to consent to go live on Facebook. And so I might ask, number one, if folks are comfortable, and number two, just let you know, I was not gonna do the intros, but I could do it from now on. And if somebody's not comfortable, you could also turn your video, off. Awesome. I see a thumbs up. Somebody knows one of the agreements we like to practice in our meetings is thanks, Jacqueline. Awesome. Thank you. And we'll miss your face, but hopefully there's another time we can chat in that way. And Xander, I didn't see your response from you yet. Are you comfortable staying on video? And then I'll hand it back over to Kengo. Sorry to interrupt.
It's fine by me.
Right on. Yeah. All right, let's get started then. Like Evan said, it looks like a lot of us are like here to get for more information to like help our communities vote. And that is actually really awesome to know that because that helps me sort of tailor like what to talk about. And yeah, we are excited to share with you like the resources that we have to be able to do that. So thank you for doing that, and thanks for stepping up in that way too. I am gonna start screen sharing. Basically, what this training that I've developed is about is kind of, it's called Voting 101, Making a Plan to Vote. And basically, I will be taking you through like all the steps that you would need to go through to get your vote counted this year. And my hope is that like after this training, you'll be more comfortable telling your friends how to vote, your families, your communities, and spreading that information out too. So I'm gonna start presenting. As we get started, Evan, could you drop the Make a Plan to Vote worksheet in the chat? This worksheet is for you to be filling out as we go through this training, and it's also a resource that you can be sharing out as well. So if you can download that and take a look at it so you can follow along today. So before we get into like voting information, I just wanted everyone to take a moment to reflect and just reflect on the first time that you voted. And maybe it was when you turned 18, maybe it was later on in your adult life, or maybe it was when you became a US citizen as well. Or in Alex's case, it sounds like it's your first time voting, so congratulations. But just I just want you to reflect, like who did you go to for help when you were like trying to vote for the first time? Chances are that there was someone in your community, whether it was your parent or a teacher or mentor that you went to ask about voting, and they probably encouraged you to vote as well. My hope is that you can be that person for someone in your community this year. And this training will help you equip you for that. And I'm introducing you to Ballot Bot, which is our voter engagement mascot. Haven't seen some action in a little bit because of COVID, but you'll see them around on their social and stuff. Cool. So just a overview of what we'll be going over today. This is about like a 30-minute training. And after each of these sections, I will have time for Q&A. And so please, as we're going through this information, if you have questions that come up, we'll have time like after each of these sections to be able to talk through it. So first we'll check our basic information, voter registration, stuff like that. Second, we're going to be choosing a plan to vote. You know, there's a couple of different ways to cast your vote, and so I want to make sure that we choose the right one for you. Then we'll spend a little bit of time getting to know our legislators and sort of how you get to know who your legislators are. And then we will talk over what's going to be on your ballot this year. And then finally, we'll share some resources that can help help your peers make a plan to vote. Cool. So what I'm going to do is basically, as I go through these slides, there's going to be links that Evan is going to drop into the chat in Zoom. And I want to invite you to click on those as we go. Let's just take a look at the election timeline right now. So what is the date today? So it's September 29th. So we're nearing the end of September, and we're closing in on the last day to register to vote, which is this Sunday, October 4th. So that's a really important deadline for folks, and we'll go into that a little bit more. Later in October, October 24th is the last day to request an absentee ballot. That's how you vote by mail. We'll also talk about that later. And then finally, election day this year is November 3rd. That's a Tuesday. And all ballots are going to be due that day. Cool. And again, if you haven't already, go ahead into the chat and please, download the Make a Plan to Vote worksheet, and you can fill this out for your own information. Does everyone have the worksheet on hand? Cool. Alrighty. So step one is checking your basic information. The first question is sort of like, who is eligible to register to vote this year? Anyone who's a US citizen, an Alaska resident, and you have to be at least 18 years of age by November 3rd, or within 90 days of your birthday. To be able to vote, you also cannot be a convicted restored. That means that you've completed the entirety of your sentence. And then you also cannot be registered to vote in another state. When you register here, your other is going to be void. So the first thing that I want folks to do is go to this website right here. This is myvoterinformation.alaska.gov. This is the best way for you to check what your voter status is. So things like, are you registered to vote? Are you registered at your current address? What's the nearest polling place? And like, what party are you registered with? So go ahead and enter your basic information into here, and you should be able to see that. And again, the last day to register or update to vote this information is this Sunday, October 4th. One thing that's really important as Alaskans to vote, and also as young people too, is that if you receive the permanent fund dividend in Alaska, you're automatically registered to vote. However, that usually doesn't happen like automatically when you turn 18. And so you might find that like, if you have recently turned 18, you might have to register like manually. And also it's really important for folks to know that check this information anyway, see if they're registered at the right address. And so, for instance, maybe when you registered for the PFD, you used like your home address, but you're now living in Anchorage and you want to vote in Anchorage. You're going to have to update your current address through this website. Cool. I'm going to take a quick pause. Does anyone have any questions about like who's eligible to vote, how to check your basic information, stuff like that? Cool. Is my are you able to hear me okay? All right, cool.
The audio seems better. Thanks.
Yeah. All right, cool. We're gonna move on then. So step 2 is choosing a plan to vote. Like this here, and I'm gonna try to make this as sort of simple as possible. The first way to vote is voting absentee. And that's the same thing as if you hear people saying absentee voting, it means voting by mail. And in order 24th, and we'll go into that after this. Second way to vote is to vote early. That's gonna be in per vote location. And you can look up if there's an early vote location in your community, but these are usually going to be open from like October 19th to November 3rd. If you want to like avoid the lines, if you want to avoid the rush, this is a great way to get your vote in. And then you can always vote in person on election day at your polling place, and that's November 3rd. Your polling place is for election day, go to that website again, the My Voter Information website to find that. Let's see. So I'm going to go into a little bit about how to you need to be registered to vote, of course, and then you're going to request a ballot by October 24th. And Evan, if you could post that link in the chat as well. There's an online link for you to be able to apply to get a mail-in ballot. And so basically what will happen is they will mail a ballot to your house in an envelope. You will fill out your ballot there. I actually like this option because like you get your physical ballot to your house and you like, yeah, you can just check out like what exactly you're voting on without the rush of like, you know, having to do it then and there, and you can do your research and stuff like that. Basically, you stamp or 55 cents, and you can mail it back. And a bunch of communities also have like ballot return boxes. And so usually on the envelope, it'll say like, you know, you can also return it to this box, which is application. But the most important thing is you need to have that returned by November 3rd in order for it to be counted. You can also check the status of your absentee ballot from the My Voter Information page too. So if you're like, if you applied but like you haven't gotten it yet, you can check that website and see if they like mailed it out for you. Again, this is probably the most important link this election is the link to apply to vote by mail, vote absentee. And let's see. Yep, Evan put it in the chat right there. If you're texting your friends, if you're posting on social media, this is a really important link for you to include. I want to touch on a little bit about sort of like access and assistance for voters. The Division of Elections in Alaska does offer language assistance, and this works in a couple of ways, right? So some polling places that have like a large percentage of like English second language speakers will have like printed ballots in those languages there, but it's not like every single polling place. But if you go on the elections website, you'll see like what where those communities are. Division Elections also offers on-call assistance. And so say that you know your friend only speaks Spanish but wants help voting in Alaska. They can call this number and they can get linked up to Spanish speaker and do that as well. A lot of polling places in rural Alaska will also have language ballots in the native languages there too. So you can check out this entire list of languages that are available in certain communities. But they have like language assistance for like different dialects of Yupik, Inupiaq, Gwich'in, and a bunch of others. So I would encourage you to check it out. If you also need to, you can also bring a translator to your polling place, like in person, and they can help like go into the ballot box with you and help you vote. That's also available. A lot of people have been asking me sort of like, what kind of ID can I bring into the polling place? I think the most important thing to know is that you don't have to have a driver's license in order to vote. And so it can be like any current or valid photo ID, passport, tribal ID, or you can use like a current utility bill, paycheck, bank statement, things like that, that has your like address and name on it. All right, I'm gonna pause again. Does anyone have questions about like choosing a way to vote or how to vote? Yeah, Mitchell makes an important point. Regular polling places are also, they also accept mail ballots. And so, for instance, like maybe you don't have but you got a mail ballot. You can go to your local polling place and drop off your ballot there. Any other questions about how to vote? Cool. I'm gonna move on. Step 3 is to get to know your legislators. And so I'm assuming a little bit that people, you know a little bit about sort of like how our political system works, but just to make sure we're on the same page, legislators are like who in Alaska, our Alaska legislators are elected by a vote of in Alaska, and they go down to Juneau and they're supposed to represent us and Alaska and a bunch of other stuff. But in order for you to find out like which district you live in and who represents me in Alaska, this is the best place to go to. You can go to akleg.gov. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see this little box. If you type in your full address, it'll pop up with like pictures and names of who your state house representative and your state senator are. And so this is a really great tool if you're just looking real quick. Someone's asking you like, hey, like who's my representative? You can go here, type in their address. It's super quick. Let me just show you a little bit about like of what comes up when I put this in here. So this is funny because I made this before I moved, and so I don't live in House District 19 anymore, but you can see my little house emoji there if you can see it. So for instance, if you live in House District 19 here in Anchorage, your representative is Guarantar. If you live in House District 20, which is more like downtown, you will be represented by Zach Fields. But each Senate district is made up of 2 House districts. And so anyone who lives in 19 or 20, they're going to be represented by Senator Tom Begich. And again, these are the folks who work like at the state level, and they make like state laws, state decisions, and stuff like that. So everyone in Alaska is also represented by our U.S. senators and House representatives. So no matter where you live in Alaska, these people are, their job is to represent us in U.S. Congress. So these are the people who go down to like Washington, D.C. And participate in that way. So you probably heard these names before: Senator Lisa Murkowski, Senator Dan Sullivan, Representative Don Young. And so Senator Lisa Murkowski is not going to be on the ballot this year. She's up for re-election in 2022. But you will see the other 2 on your ballot for sure. And actually everyone in Alaska will see these people. I know that was pretty quick, but does anyone have any questions about how to find out who your legislator is? Cool. And the next step is going to be to find out what exactly is going to be on your ballot, right? This is like maybe the biggest question that we get is like, what are we voting on? I know how to vote, but what's going to be on my ballot? I think the best way for you to see like exactly what's going to be on your ballot is to actually look up your sample ballot. And so you can go to the link in the chat to be able to find this. And the only thing is you're going to have to know which House district you live in. And so if you don't know that, go back to AK Ledge link and type that in. And so basically you'll see an entire list, and if you select your House district, you'll be able to see exactly what you'll be voting on this election. And I'm gonna go through sort of like what each of those things that you see on there means. So first of all, you're gonna wanna know your options for these elected officials that we're voting on. So this year, that includes your state House rep, state senator, US House rep, US senator, and of course, US president and vice president. And what I'm gonna do is I'll show you some of like the front runners for each of these races. That doesn't exactly mean that these are the only people you'll see on your ballot, but I just wanted to, these are the people who are kind of like, we expect them to get most of the votes, and it's going to be a pretty tight race. So for state House rep, 2 of the options are going to be Don Young, who's the Republican. He's been in a really long time, I think like more than 40 years, I think. And Elise Galvin, who is an independent, and she's challenging him. For US Senator, again, everyone will see these 2 options on here. Dan Sullivan, who is a Republican. He's also been in office for a couple of years. And Al Gross, who's an independent, and he's challenging for this seat. And again, everyone in the US will see these two options on there along with some others. And yeah, you know who these folks are, right? Donald Trump, Mike Pence, who are the incumbents, and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, who are the Democratic challengers. And it sounds like they're having a pretty fiery debate right now. You'll also see on your ballot some choices for judges. And so what this sort of means is, like, as Alaskan voters, we actually have a say in whether these judges are going to be allowed to keep being judges for like the next few years. And so a lot of these people are like nominated by like the legislature and other folks, I believe. But we have a say in order for like for them to like retain their seat for the next couple of years. And so what this process is about is like, you know, chances are that sometime in our life, like some person we know is going to go up against one of these judges. And so as Alaskan voters, like, we need to make sure that these people are doing a good job and that we can keep them accountable if they aren't. The best way to look up who's going to be on your ballot is to go to the Alaska Judicial Council's website. And here you will be able to see who's going to be on your ballot. And Alaska Judicial Council also does a performance review. And so you can check out sort of their recommendation for how to vote and yeah, their evaluation. And this is going to be like a simple yes or no question. Like for Susan Carney, are we going to vote to retain her for another 6 years? Yes or no? And you'll go down the list and vote yes or no. The last thing that you're going to see on your ballot is the ballot measures. And so you've probably seen like the yard signs and ads and stuff that are like, vote yes on one, vote no on one. You know, this is what they're talking about, right? Ballot measures they're kind of like laws that every single Alaskan can vote on. And if they get the majority of the vote, they become Alaskan law in 90 days. And so it's a special opportunity for us to have a direct say in sort of like how we run our state. So ballot measure 1 is about oil taxes. And I'm not going to go into like super detail about what each of these are, because I think it's better for you to, you know, research it yourself and, you know, find out more about it. But number 1 is about oil taxes and reforming how they're done. Ballot measure 2 is about elections and how we run elections. And again, these are like simple yes or no questions. Do we want this to pass or do we not? Cool. So that about covers it for what's going to be on your ballot. Any questions about what we're going to be voting on, what this all means? It's also okay if you're confused and you're like, can you go over this again? Or, you know, talk a little bit more about this. I know this can be a lot of information to talk about at once. Before we go into the next section, can I ask the group? It sounds like we have a group of people who like have been already like, you know, getting out the vote, talking to people about voting. What are some of like the most common questions that you hear, and are there any questions that I didn't answer? Yeah, we can send up, Jacqueline just asked if we can receive it by email. Yeah, we can make sure to include like this slides and stuff and recording and some of these links when we send out the follow-up email. Cool. Well, the last step, of course, is to help your peers make a plan to vote, and it sounds like y'all are doing that already. And so, however we can support you, like as the Alaska Center, as the YWCA, like please see us as a resource, not only just that for like handouts and stuff, but as like people who can help you out too. First thing you could do is you can download the Alaska Center's Get Out the Vote toolkit. This has a couple of like handy worksheets, info sheets and stuff. And it has the link to all these slides that we have here. Feel free to download those and use those in any way that you like. Oh. And I don't have this on a slide, but I would also check out nativepeoplesaction.org. Native People's Action is an organization we partner with a lot, and they have a really neat online tool called Ballot Ready on their website. And basically, like if you type in your information, it will like help you lead through your process to vote. And so it's a great tool for someone who's like new to voting to go to. So I would check it out. They do a lot of work to get out the Native vote across the state. Cool. Well, that concludes our training material for today. I hope that it was helpful. And I'm going to be sticking around for a couple more minutes to, chat with folks if you want. Yeah, does anyone have any last questions or things they want help on? Yeah, Mitchell, if you go to the GOTV kit that Evan posted on the chat, the link to the slides is in there as well. Oh, and I would love we would love to have some help, like volunteer help, if y'all are able to, on some of our upcoming voter engagement activities. We're going to be starting to do like regular phone banks and text banks and stuff to be contacting voters to encourage them to vote. Maybe Evan, do you want to say a little bit about that and yeah, how people can get involved?
Absolutely, and there's one more link I'll drop in here in the chat for you, and it's our volunteer forum for the Alaska Center Education Fund. We are working to get out the vote in as many ways and as many channels as we can this year, and of course that looks a lot different than it typically does for us. We'd love to be knocking on the doors, going door to door, having in-person events. Of course, we're doing a lot more Zoom calls like this, but in addition to our trainings, we'll do a couple more of these. Stay tuned on I think it's the events page on our website for the info on that, or to invite some other folks to that one. But then we're doing Monday night action nights. So Democracy for All action nights. It's mostly phone banks starting the 5th of October, 5:30, and we'll have Facebook information out on our Facebook and our website as well. And then supporting partners in events as well. So not everything is totally scheduled on the calendar so far, but I'm aware of phone banks and community lit drops being planned by a number of partners, including the Alaska Black Caucus and LACES Alaska, which is the Latina organizing group that we have here that supports the Sol de Medianoche newspaper. As well as the Alaska Poor People's Campaign is planning some lit drops, and as well as the most upcoming one, and a link I can share below, is the Parade to the Polls that the Alaska Poor People's Campaign is planning with support of the Alaska Center and a number of other partners. And it's in Fairview. There was one in Mountain View a few weeks ago, and this upcoming one is in Fairview in Anchorage. And so I'll drop that link below as well. And we love, I would love to connect folks into any of these events, would love to connect organizations into any of these events. I know Kengo's leading a few of the Monday night phone banks with more of a youth-driven focus, and would love to support other ideas from folks too, whether that's a party in your neighborhood or a Zoom call like this, a training like this, or some other kind of volunteer activity. We do great when we're able to support the broader community in their ideas, and so we're working with NPA to support all three of those groups I mentioned in those phone banks and those lit drops, and so we're happy to spread the love and try to use our the tech that we have access to and some of the data that we have access to publicly available through the voter file, and work with whatever community you identify that you work most closely with to try to get out the vote among some of those folks.
Yeah, thanks everyone for that. And I just want to say, yeah, thanks for joining Mitchell and Alex, and good luck on everything that y'all are doing too.
Well, thank you for putting it together, and thank you for everything else that you're doing at the Alaska Center. It's going to be an interesting, what do we have, 35 days from now. And hopefully we'll know what's going to happen after 35 days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you there.
Okay.
All right. Have a good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you all.
See you later.
Good night.
We have stopped the live stream.
All right, and can you stop the recording too?
Oh yeah, let me do that.